We got the Jets this week, and we got to talk about two guys, Jedrick Wills and Jacoby Brissett. Let's get into it. Let's start off with Jedrick. He was drafted in the first round of the 2020 draft, this making it his third year in the league. First year, okay. Second year, step backwards, but a lot of that was due to the injury in the first game where he rolled his ankle against the Chiefs. That injury really never healed throughout the year, and he was off and on fighting through injury and through the pain, and a lot of times his play suffered for that. So now with this whole offseason, coming back into year 3, we were hoping to see a big step forward for Jedrick. This is a guy that we spent a lot of draft capital in to shore up that offensive line for many years to come in a critical position, the left tackle. Now, going back to his time at Alabama, the thing in that draft coming out was that Jedrick was a right tackle. And in fact, if you talk to a lot of informed college football fans who ended up watching a lot of Alabama, specifically that last bowl game that Jedrick played, there were some question marks out there. On top of that, there were many people that thought the Browns should have drafted Tristan Wirfs, who was still available at the 10 spot when Jedrick was selected. Now let's look at what we saw in the first game from Jedrick from the PFF score standpoint. We're not going to look at the tape just yet. We're just going to go off of what the professional analysts say. Jedrick's offensive grade overall was a 51.7. His passing grade was a very mediocre 63 even. And his run grade was a putrid 42.9. Out of the 83 tackles that took snaps last Sunday, Jedrick ranked an overall 75. Just looking at pass block, Jedrick came in at the 45th overall. But when we go over to the run block, out of 84 on this list, Jedrick was 78th. So let's think about this for a moment. What could be causing Jedrick to play so bad? Last year, he gutted it out through the injury. And you could tell he was in pain, and you could tell he was frustrated. But he did his best. And when he had to come off the field, he took himself out. This year, we're seeing a different guy. His tape is showing a consistent lack of effort. He looks frustrated out there. And it's making a lot of people question if he cares at all. This is a guy that's entering in his third year of his contract. He's made over $16 million thus far from the Cleveland Browns. And his total contract is upwards of $19.7 million through the first 4 years. Now, the Browns would have the option to give him that 5th year, at which point after that, he would become an unrestricted free agent. Just this week, Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot reported on the situation. She said that Alex Van Pelt said Wills had a good debut, but will have his hands full against the Jets and their aggressive front. He also believes that Jedrick has what it takes to live up to his 2020 number 10 overall pick status. Van Pelt was quoted by saying, Jed has to keep playing consistent and want to dominate. When he wants to dominate, I think there's not many better tackles in the league than he is. He went on to say, he has it in his body. He just has to keep grinding it out. If he wants to be the best, I think there's a chance that he could be. So what does this say about Jedrick? Is it a matter of motivation and drive and desire? Clearly, Alex Van Pelt says he mentioned several times that it's up to him if he wants to dominate. If he wants to be the best, then there's a chance that he can be. That is all we need to know. So I'm going to be there at the Jets game on Sunday, and I'm going to keep a very keen eye on Jedrick. I want to see what his body language looks like. Is he giving up on plays? Is he trying hard? Right? Coming off of this really poor and poorly graded game where he didn't pass the smell test, the tape looks horrendous, the grades are bad, and the result happens to be okay because we have elite running backs and the rest of the offensive line seems to have picked up the slack. Now, knowing this much heat is on Jedrick right now, how is he going to respond? So all that being said, I want to go on record and say I am a Jedrick fan. I really do like the guy, and I'm rooting for him. I think that there was a big transition between that right tackle to left tackle in the pros. That has been a harder step than I think a lot of people really imagined it would be. We are now in year 3. And like I said before, I'm going to give him a pass on year 2 just due to injury. I'll give him a pass on year 1 because very few players, I don't care where you're drafted, very few players come into the league and immediately dominate. It is extremely rare. It usually takes 2 to 3 to 4 years to really get your footing. And now that's where we are with Jedrick. So that first game was a major red flag for a lot of people, and a lot of people were calling him out on Twitter. So now we got to see. Are you going to sink or swim, Jedrick? You have an opportunity to be the best. Van Pelt said it. He believes in you. There's a lot of people out here who believe in you as well. I happen to be one of them, and I think you can turn this around. Everybody has a bad game every once in a while. A lot of people have a bad series of games every once in a while. But you have the talent. You're a great player. I believe in you, and I want to see improvement, and I think you can do it. So the next guy I want to talk about is Jacoby Brissett. First off, before we get into the PFF and everything like that, I want to address first and foremost how I feel about Jacoby. We all knew coming in that he's not going to be asked to do a whole heck of a lot. All they're saying is don't turn over the ball and put us in a position where we can win. Let us take the weapons that we have and execute with them. Let that be the running backs, the talented wide receivers that we have, our defense who can stop pretty much anybody, and then this kicker who can kick from 70 plus yards. And in this last game, when it was on the line, he got us in a position to try that kick that Cade York ultimately executed. Now, the stats are not off the charts. He's not going to blow everybody away with the PFF scores. But again, we are looking at a backup quarterback who's came in and he won the game. That's what you want out of a backup quarterback. I'm not asking for 5 touchdowns. I'm not asking for him to dominate that stat sheet. He did his job. Now, again, Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot had a report 2 days ago that said Jacoby Brissett must try to rebound against another aggressive attack-minded defense in the Jets. Now, it's not a terrible proposition here, especially if you look at the PFF scores. So in the Panthers game, there were a total of 80 offensive plays. Jacoby had an overall offensive score of 46.9 and a passing score of 48.1. Out of a total of 35 quarterbacks that took snaps in week 1, Jacoby Brissett ranked 31 of 35 with his 48.1 PFF passing grade. So here's where we stand with Jacoby right now. Again, I believe he's doing the job he was asked to do. Go in there, manage the football game, don't turn the ball over, put us in a position where we can use our weapons to potentially win games. That's all. Now, if Jacoby would have gone out there and thrown multiple interceptions, fumbled, basically done what Baker did as a Panther the first week, I think there would be a lot of people that would be a little bit nervous about the other 10 games that we're going to be riding with Jacoby, especially knowing that we've got a guy like Josh Dobbs who sat there in the preseason and really wowed quite a few people, including myself, to the potential of having a more dynamic quarterback back there. Now, the thing that Jacoby brings to the table is that experience. It's the presence of mind, right? It is the leadership ability to say, listen, I'm going to stay cool and I'm going to get us there. And he did that in a huge way. That was one of the biggest games in the last 20 plus years as a Cleveland Brown fan. I'm telling you, that was one of the most important games because A, we haven't won in a very long time. We made a major splash in the offseason by bringing in Deshaun, knowing there was going to be a suspension. We had to go out and find a backup quarterback, which we did, a guy with a lot of experience. And we happen to be playing not only against a guy who was our quarterback for many years, there are a lot of fans that still support him, but on top of it, we're paying half the guy's darn salary to go out there and play against us. The mockery in the national media would have been huge, and they wanted it. They wanted to start really twisting the knife on us like they always do. Jacoby made that go away by playing his game. And I think you can't take that away from the guy. So, as a recap, I really do think, and I expect a big jump forward from Jedrick and Jacoby Brissett. We're playing the Jets. We're playing at home. It's the home opener. You're going to have the home crowd. You're going to have rocking energy. You've got the elf in the middle of the field that we're unveiling. You've got Joe Thomas being honored into the Browns Ring of Fame. There's just a lot going on for the Cleveland Browns in this particular game. And on the other side, you really have none of that energy coming in from the Jets. So this is a big opportunity to step forward. Now, the heat is on, especially on the Jedrick side. The heat is not going to really go on to Jacoby as long as the games keep being won. However, we just would like to see a little bit more out of them. So in terms of these two guys, I truly wish they do well. So in terms of these two guys, I'm going to be there in person. I'm going to be watching them, and I'm going to be rooting for them because they are, at the end of the day, they're Cleveland Browns. And if you're on the Browns, if you wear brown and orange, I'm going to root for you no matter what. Thanks for watching, guys. I truly appreciate it. If you made it this far, click the like button, click the subscribe, leave me a comment with your thoughts on Jedrick Wills and on Jacoby Brissett, and let me know what you think the score is going to be against the Jets this weekend. I'm going to go and say 28-20. We're going to play really well. They're going to score a couple points, probably some wackiness in how they get in the end zone. But we're going to win this game. It's going to feel comfortable. We're going to be very happy with the outcome. And 2-0 for the first time since 1993. That's my expectation. So, again, thanks for watching, and go Browns.